Okay, so this lesson is about cancer. Okay, so we're going to talk about what cancer is, the different types of cancer treatment, and also related to cancer, Terry Fox. So starting with this, what do all of these people have in common? Okay, can anyone tell me what you think um, it is that connects these people?
Cancer.
Cancer. There you go. All of these people. Oh yeah, and they're all dead. They're all dead because of cancer. Okay, that's something very specific. So cancer has taken many human lives. Some of them, as you can see from their photographs, are very young when they died. Some people are old. As you age, you increase the probability of getting cancer. But even if you're young, there is still a chance of you contracting cancer and dying from it. So there is something very unfortunate. So in Canada, we're talking about Canada, not the world in general, but in Canada, the number one cause of death is cancer. Okay. Number two would be heart disease. And number three is stroke. So basically, the top three is this basically covers the vast majority of deaths in Canada. So well, we're all going to die, not if. We are all going to die one day. And this probably describes most of our deaths right there. Take your pick. Which one do you want to go with? Cancer, heart disease, or stroke, or something else? It could be something else, but mostly one of these. So pick your favorite. And yeah, this is going to be the end of us. Somewhere down the line, one of these is going to get us. Unfortunately, though, what about COVID? Okay, now we're going to add another one to the list. COVID has been claiming a lot of lives. But let's hope that we don't get it. COVID is a virus. It's different from these three. These three, cancer, heart disease, and stroke, you develop on your own, okay, without external help. To get COVID, you have to be exposed to the virus. If you're never exposed, you're never going to get it. So yeah, that's different. Okay, try not to get COVID. So again, there's no cure for cancer. All of these diseases I've listed, there are no cures, which is why it kills so many people. And some type of cancer runs in families. So if you have a family history of cancer, you might be carrying a gene that will increase your risk of cancer. Okay, this doesn't necessarily mean you'll get it. It's not like Huntington's. You have the genes, you get it. No, this is a risk. Okay, not the cancer itself. Now, some other cancers are triggered by the environment. So the environment has tremendous effects on our DNA. So it is not just our gene that makes us who we are, but also what we're exposed to. That also can change things about our body or our behavior. Now, here's the good news. Cancer, unlike COVID, is not infectious. That means if you hang out with someone with cancer, you won't get it. Okay, so you can't give other people cancer if you have it. So that's at least something good about cancer. And if you find the cure for cancer, you will become the most famous person in the world of biology. That's the holy grail of medical science for many decades now. And we are getting closer and closer to ultimately finding a cure. Every year, there are new innovations. And very recently, we have come up with CRISPR. It's a gene therapy. But it is not perfect. It does have the potential to cure cancer if it has been developed enough. Okay. Well, what is cancer exactly? Okay, what do you mean you have cancer? What does it mean to have cancer? Well, it basically can be explained with three words: uncontrolled cell division. Okay, we have learned about cell division last class. Mitosis mitosis. Okay, when cells divide, they go through the 4 stages: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, and they go into interphase. They rest. They get ready for the next one. Now, cancer is when the cell goes insane and won't stop. And normally your cells shouldn't be dividing all the time. Your body will tell it, hey, it's time to divide, so do it. Or it can tell it, stop right there. I don't need you to divide anymore. You just sit there and carry out your function. Cancer cells, the only thing that they do is divide. Your body cannot stop them from dividing. And this will rapidly produce a lump of cells that is completely useless for your body. And we call that a tumor. And not only is it useless, it has negative effects on the body, because you have a mass of cells here that they don't do anything in particular, but they are taking up nutrients and space from surrounding cells. Okay, so that does have an effect. So that's what we call a tumor. Normally, if you have a tumor, we do surgery and that can be removed, but cancer can be a little bit more complicated than that. Okay, so to sum up, cancer is just your cells going crazy and won't stop dividing. So there are 3 types of tumors. If you have a tumor, well, one of 3 things can happen. You can have a benign tumor. No problem. If you have a benign tumor, that means despite having a tumor, it is not really negatively affecting the surrounding cells. Okay, it's there, but it's not really doing much. You can just remove it via surgery. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Okay, that's the you have. A malignant tumor is a tumor that does have a negative effect. It is starting to affect the cells around it by taking up the nutrients and spreading. Okay, it's spreading to surrounding cells. It's cancerous. Am I lagging?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me just go back to the previous slide. Oh, okay. Then I'm probably lagging. How bad is it? Do I have to switch rooms? We're good? Okay, so if it's too bad, like the lagging is too terrible, please let me know. The third type of tumor is the worst kind. If you have this, then yeah, this is pretty much it. A metastatic tumor, the cancer has metastasized. That means it has spread to other regions of the body, not just confined to one location. It is now in the bloodstream and will affect many other cells in your body. Okay, it is too late to do anything. You can't remove it because it's pretty much everywhere. You can't remove your whole body. So that's the main reason why cancer is so dangerous. It spreads a lot. Okay, so it is vital that you detect cancer before this happens. Before this happens, there is a pretty good chance that you can treat it, you can control it, and you can live with it. But once you get to here, it is pretty much too late. Your days are numbered. And there are many different types of cancer. You can get cancer in a lot of places in your body. The most common one is lung cancer. Okay, and you can imagine why that is the case. Why the lungs, of all things? But don't get me wrong, other parts of the body also have cancer. Breast cancer is also a common one. There's colon cancer, pancreatic cancer. The other types of cancer are a bit rare. Leukemia is another one, cancer of your bone marrows, so hence your blood. But all of these cancers can have lethal consequences. So any cancer is bad. Okay. Skin cancer, that's another one. Melanoma is skin cancer. Yeah, Terry Fox did have leukemia. Okay, so how do you get cancer? Okay, what causes cancer? Maybe we can avoid it, right? If you know what causes cancer, do that thing. Really avoid cancer. You can try your best. Okay, you can lower your risk of cancer, but there is no guarantee. Mutations are the way that cancers start. Okay, that's it. Just this one thing, mutations. And recall that a mutation is a random change in your DNA. Normally, your DNA should be fine, unless you have a genetic disorder. That's a whole new story. But let's say you don't. So your DNA should do a fine and dandy job of keeping you alive. Now, mistakes do happen with your DNA. Okay. Every time mitosis occurs, your cells divide, you have to make a copy of your DNA. And like I said, this copying process is not perfect. It makes mistakes. It makes, on average, 6 mistakes every time it replicates. Okay, 6. That seems like a lot. 6 mistakes every time, and guess what? Your cells multiply pretty much all the time. So how come you don't drop dead from cancer immediately? Well, not all mutations do negative things. Some mutations can kill the cell. That will be bad. But good at the same time. If the cell is dead, it's not cancerous. Okay. Most of the mutations do absolutely nothing. You make a mistake, who cares? Okay. That's because, like I said before, 75% of your DNA is. However, very rarely, a mutation will affect a cell's ability to divide. Okay, not only does it have a negative effect, it is very specific in that it affects the cell's ability to divide. Okay, so this is very rare. This will make the cell undergo mitosis nonstop. Okay, it doesn't know how to stop anymore because there is a mutation that took away that ability. Now, you normally need 2 mutations for this to happen. Okay, 2 very specific mutations. If you just have the first mutation, you don't have cancer. If you just have the other mutation, you don't have cancer. Only when you have both, you have cancer. Which is why cancer is typically rare in young people. Okay, because mutation takes time. It is a rare event. So the longer you live, the more chances you have to get those 2 mutations, which is why cancer is common in older folks. But again, just like the lottery, you can win it. Cancer, you can win the cancer lottery. You could get cancer when you're young. That's when you're really unfortunate. You actually have those mutations. It didn't take a lot of time. So yeah, there is a reason why cancer is rare in younger people, but more common in older, because it takes time for the mutation to develop. And in the past, more than 200 years ago, cancer wasn't a thing. Okay, if you read the history books, there are many reasons people die. Cancer wasn't among them because medicine was so horrible back then. People they couldn't live to an age where cancer can kill them. Usually they died of something else before they got cancer. So this was a thing that only happened to us after we made medicine so much better. We have longer life expectancies. Now this hits. Okay, when you get cancer, the cells divide nonstop and they take up all the nutrients and your cells begin to die. That's how you can get cancer without any help by yourself. Okay, so this means you can live the healthiest of lives. You can avoid all kinds of bad things. You can eat right, you can exercise, you can have the most fit of bodies. You can still get cancer. You can be a health nut and get cancer. It is rare. It is less likely, but it can happen. If, however, you don't live the perfect life, which is most people, if not everyone, you can be exposed to certain factors that will increase your risk of cancer. We call these things carcinogens. Okay, a carcinogen is something that causes cancer. As long as it causes cancer, it's a carcinogen. So, mutation during DNA replication, that's your fault. You can't blame the environment for that one. But the environment does have a lot of carcinogens. The most common one is cigarettes, okay? Tobacco, amongst a whole slew of other things inside of cigarettes, causes cancer, okay? Those chemicals will go into your lungs and they will react with your DNA inside of your lung cells, changing the DNA and drastically increasing the probability of getting that right mutation, or actually in this case, the wrong mutation that will cause cancer. Okay, so smoking doesn't necessarily lead to cancer, but it drastically increases the risk of cancer. Something else that can increase the risk of cancer would be radiation. Okay, especially high energy radiation such as X-rays or ultraviolet radiation. On the beach, on a really bright summer day, you go to the beach without any sunscreen, you're asking for melanoma. Okay, you're increasing your risk of getting cancer because the sun produces a lot of harmful ultraviolet radiation that can penetrate your skin, go into your cells, damage your DNA, which could, again, cause that mutation that gives you cancer. X-rays, same thing. Don't take X-rays for fun. X-rays are designed to take a picture of your bones so you know that they can go into your body. And if you're unlucky, it can do something very specific to your DNA, which causes cancer. Okay. Another one is viruses, the human papillomavirus, or we call it HPV for short because nobody likes to say that. So HPV is a virus that can infect humans, which will ultimately lead to cancer. And you can get tested. It's called a Pap test because there's papilloma virus. You can get a test to see whether you have this virus, which will tell you whether you have cancer. And also just other chemicals, not just cigarettes, but other chemicals like benzene, asbestos, things that you can get inside a mine, even some kind of paint and dye, they can cause cancer. So you might want to avoid a lot of these things if you want to live a long and healthy life. And there's something that you can all avoid: cigarettes. If you smoke for some reason, yeah, that's one of the stupidest things you can do. I don't know anyone in the school that smokes, which is good. But please don't start. A lot of it's supposed to be cool. Honestly, I don't see it. I don't smoke myself because I know too much about biology to understand that is suicide. I do have a lot of family members that smoke. I try to stay away from them. When they smoke, when you're supposed to go outside, there's a law in Canada. If you're smoking, you have to be outdoors. You can't smoke indoors because cigarettes can cause harm to the people around you. Okay, so if you have cancer, your healthy cells will become abnormal. So here is a typical skin with a lot of healthy cells. Now, if you develop a tumor, okay, you will have this lump inside of your skin. So if you feel your body and you feel a lump somewhere that is not supposed to be there, yeah, you might want to go to a doctor because it could be a tumor, hopefully benign, but it could be malignant and hopefully not metastatic. So don't wait until a holiday, Christmas break. No, if you feel a lump, go to the doctor. Okay, so that's the sign of cancer, and as it grows, it spreads and it will affect more and more cells, and more part of your body will become useless, and you eventually will die. And if it happens to spread into the blood, that's metastasis, you die. Okay, it's only a matter of time if this happens. There's no way to treat that because it's all over your body, and you can't just cut the cancer out anymore. Even if you use other methods of treating it, it's in your whole body. Okay, so that's why it's so difficult to treat. So again, I've been trying to advise against smoking Because lung cancer is the most common type of cancer because of smoking. Before cigarette was invented, lung cancer was near the bottom of the list of how common the common organs that get cancer. Lungs, that wasn't amongst them. But because of cigarettes, 9 out of 10 cases of lung cancers are linked to smoking. Okay, and not only does smoking cause lung cancer, it can affect many other places in the body because your body is a large system that interacts with each other. So, at least 70 chemicals in tobacco cause cancer to people and other animals. So, if you want to take away anything from this lesson, do not smoke. Okay, if someone offers you a cigarette, it doesn't matter if it makes you look bad, it's awkward, it's not worth it. Okay, and you have to spend money for the rest of your life just getting cigarettes, and you will have bad breath, bad teeth, bad lungs. I don't understand why. Okay, so what is the probability of getting cancer if you smoke? Well, here's a little chart that gives you an idea. So, if you have never smoked in your life, near the bottom, that flattest line on the graph with the white circles, yeah, that is the risk of cancer in percentages as you age. So look, it's not very high. Okay, when you hit the ripe age of 75, you have like a 1% chance of getting cancer. Okay, that is if you never smoke. But if you are smoking, well, the risk of cancer increases drastically. Or if you're exposed to secondhand smoke, if you have a family member that smokes around you all the time, yeah, that also increases your risk of cancer. Here's the good news. If you quit, it's not too late. Okay, so if you stop smoking at the age of 30, yeah, there are irreversible damages. You do increase the risk of cancer, but it's not too late to stop. So you can see it on the chart. If you stop at the age of 30, you have like at age 75, you have like a 2% chance instead of a 1% chance. You double your percentages, but it's still quite small. If you quit at the age 50, around 6%. If you just kept on smoking like a pipe, when you're 75, you have more than 15% chance of getting cancer, which is very high. Okay, that is a risk that I don't want to take. So again, I urge you, please, if you're gonna smoke, don't. And if you are already smoking, quit. Yes, Colby, question.
I'm not trying to are you sure that chart's accurate? Because like the percentages seem really low.
The percentages, well, this is from, this is not just from any website. It is actually peer reviewed, so I'm going to believe it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not accurate anymore. You can see the year 2004. So we might have better data.
Like they all start at 0 though. That just kind of doesn't make sense.
Not 0, close to 0. You know what I mean? That is when you're 45. Usually it's really rare to get cancer before 45. Like how many people younger than 45 have you heard of getting cancer? Okay, not a lot. There are still some people, but out of like what?
Million? Yeah, there are a few. There are like I know of 3 people around like within a 5-year difference, or probably a little bit more than that, with an 8-year difference to me, who have had cancer.
Okay, that's actually quite high, but still, it's still relatively rare compared to older folks. You see what I mean? I'm seeing the chat. Okay, Chloe has a friend. Harper knows a lot, like 5. Okay, so unfortunately, you guys do know people young that do have cancer. Again, it does happen to young people. The probability is not 0, but that doesn't mean the probability is high. If it's high, then it will be more than 5 that you know, because you know a lot of people in your lives. Even if you don't talk to them, you've heard of them. You see what I mean? So still rare, but does happen. Okay, does that make sense? 15%, don't get 15% is really high. Think of the coronavirus. The death rate is about 2%. Okay, and that is high enough to warrant all kinds of lockdowns and restrictions because 2% of the population is millions, if not billions of people, depending on where you are. And that is extremely, extremely bad. Okay, even if we're talking about a death rate or cancer, yeah, 15% is pretty high. I have a video on smoking, but I can't show you without violating copyright. So I'll show you at the end when I stop recording. So cancer screening, if you get cancer, there really is no cure. So you might want to detect it early. That is the best thing you can do. If you have cancer and not know it, that will quickly worsen. And when you eventually do discover it, because now you have symptoms, it just might be too late. The earlier you detect it, the higher your survival probabilities. So that's why people should screen for cancer. And especially if you hit the age of 40, you should do some cancer screening. Can't you be cancer-free? You could be. You don't necessarily have to get cancer. So we're trying to screen, and if the results come back negative, congratulations, you're cancer-free, at least for now. So it doesn't prevent cancer, okay? Screening doesn't take away the probability that you will get cancer, but it does tell you if you have it. Okay, so it increases your survival. And if you have a mole on your skin somewhere, and it looks like the bottom row in the picture, yeah, that might be bad news. But any mole, you might want to get that checked out. If it's small, it's fine. If it's round, it's fine. Only if it is not symmetric, it kind of looks bumpy, it's kind of dark, and it's quite large. That's a huge red flag. Okay, that's a sign of cancer. We call this the ABCD test: asymmetry, border irregularity, color, and diameter. Okay. Oh, if you have cancer, you can't. Okay, so if you get cancer and you treat it early enough, yes, you can be cancer-free. Okay, that is very fortunate. But there's always a chance that the cancer will come back. Okay, there are many people that they lived cancer-free for a long time, and then one day the cancer came back. So now you have an increased risk of cancer. So yeah, I do know people that have had cancer, but are now cancer-free, but they go back to the doctor like every year to screen, to check, to make sure that it's not back. If it's back, they have to treat it again. Okay, so yes, if you have cancer, it's very likely that you will live with it for the rest of your life. Okay, even if it doesn't come back, you have to constantly now worry about it. Okay, Chloe's friend, yeah, I had it come back twice. That's very unfortunate. I'm guessing your friends are your age. So yeah, if you get cancer at your age, that's just very sad, which is why it's very important for science to advance so that eventually we do have a cure. What you do can also affect the probability of you getting cancer. There are certain foods, most of the time vegetables, they do reduce the risk of cancer. Another thing is your body weight. If you are morbidly obese, that drastically increases the chance of cancer. So there is a correlation between eating meat and cancer. Again, a correlation doesn't mean causation. There could be some other factors. I don't know what that other factor is, but there is a correlation with high meat consumption and colon cancer. Right? So be careful what you eat. Having a healthy diet not only reduces the risk of cancer, it reduces your body fat, which makes you more fit, which gives you better heart rate, and all kinds of health benefits. So please make sure you try to eat healthy as much as you can, and also just avoid ionizing radiation. Okay. Oh wait, there's another comment. The same one, that's your age or older. Okay, I don't think that was for me. Okay. If you go to the beach, okay, put sunscreens on, especially if you're near the equator. Canada, we're a bit more north, so the sunlight is more indirect, but still, On a summer day, the sun can be pretty intense. Okay, you put sunscreen on to protect your skin from the UV radiation. And now, if you live near the equator, like near Cuba, go to the beach. If you don't have any sunscreens on, that's not a good idea, which kind of explains why people near the equator have dark skin. Because if you have dark skin, then you automatically, your body comes with UV protection. Okay, that is the feature of living near the equator. So darker skin will automatically produce something to prevent melanoma. But if you're pale and you decide to go to the equator, your body does not have that feature, so you need to put on sunscreen. And also, don't get x-rays for fun. And if you work in a field that involves a lot of radiation, like if you're an x-ray technician, if you ever go to the hospital, notice what they do. You go in for an x-ray, right? They tell you, stand here. And they put like a piece of lead around you, and they run all the way across the room into a tiny room and says, are you ready? Because they don't want to be in that room with you, because every day if they're standing in the room, they use the x-ray machine, they are drastically increasing their risk of cancer. Okay. And avoid carcinogens. I listed here some carcinogens. You can see arsenic, that's a chemical. Asbestos, you can have that in an old construction building. Benzene, you can have that with chemicals, rubber, petroleum. So be careful what job you go into. Don't just look at how much money you're going to make, but also look at the other things that might come with it. So why does that job pay so much? There might be a reason for that. If that's your passion, that's your interest, or you have no choice, okay, fine, just be very careful. But if you do have a choice, consider also the risks that comes with the job, okay? So these are some things that you can do on a daily basis to avoid cancer. Okay, so Terry Fox, because we're in Canada, Terry Fox is like a national hero, okay? Every September, Canadians, well, actually not just the Canadians, the Commonwealth and around the world hosts the Terry Fox Run. Okay, we've had one this September. Okay, with COVID and social distance version of that. But why do we do it? Why do we have Terry Fox runs? Well, to commemorate Terry Fox for what he did and to support cancer research. So if you haven't heard of the story, I'm going to tell the story of Terry Fox. So Terry Fox was a young lad. He was very good at basketball. He was athletic. He was a runner. But unfortunately, at the age of 18, which is very, very young, he was diagnosed with bone cancer, cancer in the bone marrow. Okay. As a result, the doctors had to treat him, so they amputated one of his legs. Okay, because the cancer was primarily found there. The best way is to remove that limb. So now, with one leg, he wanted to raise money for cancer research. So using his prosthetic leg, he started on the east coast of Canada, the very east of Canada, St. John's, Newfoundland, and decided to run across Canada. And Canada is the second largest country in the world. Okay, he's not running across like just one province, a tiny space. From the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Now, he didn't make it. Okay, he died somewhere along the way. But he started the journey on April 12, 1980. He began his run at St. John's, so he took a bottle, collected water from the Atlantic, and he intended to pour the Atlantic Ocean water into the Pacific when he ends up in Victoria, British Columbia. And no, you don't have to memorize that carcinogen chart. It's just FYI, so that you know what to avoid. Okay, so initially, he started the run. Not a lot of people cared, okay? He didn't generate a lot of hype. People around him supported him, sure. But slowly, as he continued his run, he generated more and more support, especially when he stepped into Ontario. He met with Prime Minister at the time, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and he also raised a lot of money. But if you have cancer and you have one leg, running across the country is probably not a healthy thing to do. So this takes a huge toll on his body. So on September 1st, when he got to Thunder Bay, if you just look at the map, he's now in Ontario, he collapsed during the run. He was rushed into the hospital because the cancer has metastasized. It wasn't just in his legs and bones anymore, it reached his lungs. So he was no longer able to continue the run. And so his run ended that day. It lasted for 143 days, and he ran more than 5,000 kilometers, again, on one leg with cancer. As a result, he raised $1.7 million, and this was in the 1980s, which was worth a lot more today. And he died shortly after in the next year. We call this the Marathon of Hope, okay, because this young man with cancer, he decided to not just sit at home and grieve. Instead, he wanted to do something for humanity, and which ended up killing him. But he did raise 1.7 million. So every year we commemorate his heroic acts by doing the same. We run around our neighborhoods in hopes of generating more money for cancer research. So when he died, Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau said this: "It occurs very rarely in the life of a nation that the courageous spirit of one person unites all people in the celebration of his life and in the mourning of his death. We do not think of him as one who was defeated by misfortune, but as one who inspired us with the example of the triumph of the human spirit over adversity." So his legacy continues to this day. There are many statues of him. There are many roads named after him. There are many schools named after him. And not just in Canada, but in the UK, Australia, and many other places of the world, the Cherry Fox Run is hosted every year. All right, so all for the purposes of developing better treatments and, if not a cure, for cancer. So what are the treatments for cancer? What are your options when you discover that you do have cancer? The first thing is simply remove the body part that has the cancerous tissue. This isn't always advised. If you have cancer in your leg, like Terry Fox, okay, you can remove your leg. If you have lung cancer, you're not going to remove your lungs. Okay, if you have pancreatic cancer, you can't remove your pancreas. If you have a tumor in your brain, yeah, you can't just take away your brain. So not only when you can remove the organ or body part and still live, that is an option. Okay, surgery. Second, you can't just do surgery because cancer cells can spread. You're not sure whether you removed all of it or not. So chemotherapy is the next one. Chemo, chemistry, that's where the word comes from, it uses drugs and chemicals. They inject drugs and chemicals into the patient's body. It can be oral or through injection. These chemicals will slow down cancer growth. Okay, but unfortunately, we don't take a targeted approach. You can't target the cancer cells. You have to target all the cells. So as a result, you have a lot of side effects: hair loss, nausea, fatigue, okay, because the drug is slowly killing the person. Okay, that's what it does. It targets cancer cells, but as well as the rest of your body. So even healthy cells are at the mercy of chemotherapy. Okay, so that's chemo. The next one is radiation therapy. Ironically, radiation causes cancer, but it is also a treatment for cancer. And because radiation can damage and kill cells, if you apply radiation on the area that you have cancer, it will kill the cancer cells. Problem again, it will kill all cells, not just cancer cells. It doesn't pick and choose. So all of your cells in the vicinity will die. Okay, you can either use a machine or insert a radioactive material into your body so that it can kill cancer from the inside. Now, normally, if you have cancer, you do a combination of all three. You don't just pick one. Okay, it depends on the situation. One strategy in one instance might be better than another, but people opt to go down all three routes. None of this is a definitive cure. It can limit the growth of cancer. Sometimes, if you're lucky, sure, it can remove it entirely, but it can always come back. So that is not a cure. That is something that we do to prolong the life of the patient. A recent thing, when I was in university, the professor talked about something like this: oncolytic viral therapy. Again, this you do not have to worry about. You just need to know the first three. This is relatively new, and this isn't actually being used right now. It's still under research. The idea is to use viruses to kill cancer. Okay, viruses are bad because they invade and kill our cells. If we can use that to our benefit, okay, oncolytic viruses, that's a strain of virus that targets tumors. You see what I'm getting at? If we can use the virus to fight cancer, that could potentially cure it because this targets only tumors and not other cells. So this is a more targeted approach. Again, but we need to do a lot more research before this actually works. So using viruses is a tool, and also now CRISPR, gene therapy, that is also something we can do. To finish the lesson, I'm going to share something that doesn't, or a lot of things that they don't cure cancer at all. These are completely useless when it comes to cancer. Most of these are completely useless in general. There are many charlatans in this world, frauds that they claim to have an effective treatment for you because they want your money. Okay, some of these people really believe that they can help you, and some of these knowingly lie to you. Okay, so all of these the things I listed: energy healing, homeopathy, crystal healing, acupuncture, none of these are effective in treating cancer. Actually, they're not effective in treating anything, maybe with the exception of acupuncture. If you have pain, poking needles into your body can sometimes avert that pain, but it doesn't really treat anything. So this doesn't cure you at all. Many people believe this. Okay, many people, instead of going to the hospital because they don't trust Western medicine, they don't trust big pharma and doctors, and instead they want to go to your neighborhood, your friendly neighborhood, natural therapy. This is a small business owned by a local family. The doctors are really nice. They talk to me. Like we go get tea together. Yeah, I'm going to trust that doctor. Well, doctor, I'm going to use the word doctor very loosely here. So then instead they get these treatments. Of course, they don't do anything. Well, maybe the placebo effect, but that can only go so far. The cancer gets worse, they're dead. Okay, there are many instances of this, and later on in another lesson, I'll talk about a specific detail pertaining to this. One particular patient took a fraud's word for it, went for his fake therapy, died, and the family sued that person. Now, if you believe this, all right, if you're really scientific literate, you should know that none of these actually work because they have never been demonstrated to be effective using an experiment. Okay, like the experiments that we've talked about, double-blind studies, a controlled experiment free of biases. They have not passed that test. So none of these have any merit at all. If you want to believe them, sure, that's on you. But do not forgo actual treatment from real doctors. You can do the real treatment and then go to your energy healer, okay, and align your crystal for something. But make sure you do actually go to a real doctor. Now, again, there's no cure for cancer. All of those treatments can make the people that have cancer live longer, but very often they don't completely eradicate cancer. Okay, so only with education, because we need young people to be interested in science, especially biology, to pursue the field and possibly one day come up with a cure. And especially girls, because the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math, fewer females go into STEM compared to males. So for whatever reasons, now that could be a free choice. You're just not interested. If most girls are not interested, that's completely respectable. But if because that is viewed as a male-dominated field and a girl feels discouraged and they believe that they won't do as well, that is completely false. So all people, male, females, everyone can be in STEM, and I encourage everyone, if you're interested, pursue the field and make a contribution to humanity. If you're a girl and you're discouraged, this is Canada. Okay, we're not in Saudi Arabia, so please don't feel discouraged. In fact, we encourage more girls to pursue science and especially biology. And one day, with our combined efforts, a cure for cancer may just become a possibility. And if one of you one day discover a cure for cancer, during your Nobel Prize acceptance, give me a shout out, Mr. Joe, science class. Of course, I'm kidding, but I certainly hope that one day we do have a cure and you might be part of it. So that concludes the lesson on cancer. It's a really kind of sad lesson because a lot of us personally know someone with cancer, and knowing that this can't be cured, yeah, that's not a good feeling. So to sum up, cancer is uncontrolled cell division. Your cells won't stop dividing, and mitosis nonstop. Okay, and if you have a tumor, benign, malignant, or worse, metastatic, that means it has spread already. Sometimes cancers have no symptoms in the beginning, so that's why you need to get screened. If you hit the age of 40, go get screened. Okay, don't believe that, hey, this is not going to happen to me. It might happen to you. Get screened. Okay. Also, live a lifestyle where you reduce the risk of cancer. You can't eradicate it. You can reduce it though. And also, there are 3 types of treatment that we use right now: surgery, chemo, and radiation. And we use a combination of all 3. Okay, so that concludes the lesson here. Do we have any questions?